Hey, how's it going? So in this demo, I'm going to be showing you essentially how to kind of set up the Unity project to kind of do some housekeeping, and as well as we're going to create a script where we destroy a box and then kind of spawn in a goodie. So yeah, let's get to it. All right, cool. So we are in Unity. So the first thing I like to do under the assets folder is just kind of delete the scene or scenes folder that they already have, because we're going to be making our own folders. So right here under project, I'm going to essentially click the assets folder and then create a new folder by right clicking and just say create folder and click that. And I'm just going to call this my assets. And the reason why I'm doing this is like in here you find yourself kind of importing a lot of stuff from the asset store right here. So this way kind of I keep my own things that I make or kind of like, do in Unity all to myself and kind of separate from any other packages I import. All right, so I'm going to double click in the assets folder, and then I'm going to create a couple other folders. I think I'm going to do like maybe 5 or so. So I just created a new folder, and I'm just going to do Command D to duplicate it maybe 3 more times, maybe 1 more. And yeah, I mean, again, another way to, yeah, just Command D or Control D on a PC, I believe. So in here as well, I could hit Enter to rename it, or I could just right click and just hit Rename. So I'm just going to go ahead and rename it my scenes. I'm going to rename the next one my scripts. I'm going to rename this one my materials. We'll do my animations. I think, oh yeah, and then also do my prefabs. Now I don't think we'll need this one, so I'm going to click it, right click, and then I'll just delete it. Alright, cool. So now we got some of the folders in here as well. So what I'm going to do next actually is I'm going to click the assets folder. I'm going to right click and then import package. We're actually not in there. What we're going to do is I'm going to go to the asset store. So we are going to get a package, but in order to kind of get it from the asset store, you're going to have to be signed in. Again, if you need to make a Unity account, it's all free and stuff, so no worries there. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to type in standard assets or standard asset, and then there we go. I'm going to click on this one, standard assets, and we're going to go ahead and, oh, sorry, I'm going to try to click that again. There we go. And then I'll just click away, and we're going to import that. Gonna import it. Might take a little second. Cool. We did get an error message down here, but what I'm going to do is go into console and just clear it. That's just kind of minor things. No worries right there. Alright, cool. So I have the standard assets, and then I have my assets. Yeah. So what I'm going to do next is, actually I'm going to go ahead and just save a scene. So I'm going to do File, Save As, and then here it wants to go to the General Assets folder. I'm going to go to My Assets folder, double click in that, and then I'm going to click into my scenes, and what I like to usually do for the first scene is just kind of say, call it scene underscore 00. And by clicking on my scenes folder, now I'm essentially in here. But enough of housekeeping, let's just get right into it. The first thing I'm going to do is create myself a ground. So what I'm going to do is just over here, I'm going to right click and go to 3D object, and let's create a very flat ground. So in here, what I'm going to do, as well as like under my materials folder, is right click and create a material. Right click, create material. And then here, I'm just using this to kind of change the color of the floor, because white is just too bright right here. So, so I'm going to go ahead and change it to, yeah, orange and stuff. And then I'm going to left click and drag this material onto here. There we go. Cool. And so next thing I'm going to do is kind of create the thing that's going to be my box. So I'm going to right click over here and just create a cube, and then this is going to be the crate or box I'm going to destroy, and I'm just going to move it up real quick. Alright, and so essentially our scene is set. So next thing is, let's get into the fun of making mechanics. Scripting. It won't be that bad, I promise. So I'm going to go to my scripts, and then I'm going to right click and create a C# script. And we'll just call this DB for destroy box, and I'm going to hit enter. And then I'm just going to give it a second to set it up, and then I'm going to double click in here. So if you are on a Mac, essentially, I believe you could just go straight into it. However, if you're on a PC, I believe they need you to sign into your Microsoft account, and that I believe you could just sign up for free and stuff. So just a heads up right there. All right, cool. Yeah, here we are in DB. I'm just gonna close this out, and then yeah, that before was like a kind of a little experiment I was doing earlier. So in here, what I'm going to do is just create a few parameters. So I'm going to write out some stuff, and then I'll explain after. So after this squirrely bracket right here, I'm going to hit enter, and then I'm going to say public game object, and I'm going to call this box semicolon. And then I'm just going to do this 2 more other times. So again, I'm just typing in public, and then sometimes if you type in a little bit of the word you want, and then Unity autofills and kind of gives you a list of what it could be that you want. So I want game object, so I can just double click it, and then there we go. Now it autofills the rest. So what I want is to type in and call it effect. And so all here I'm doing is just kind of like creating some variables or creating some like containers that I'm going to use in the scene view. So here I'm going to do another one, and we're going to say glowy, because this is going to be the little prize or goodie we're going to get after we destroy the box. And then over here, what I'm going to do is now I'm going to go ahead and do a public transform. And this is going to be our spawn point, or wherever glowy is going to come up, or wherever an effect is going to come up. So public transform, and we're just going to say spawn. So this is our spawn point. And the last thing we're going to do is kind of create a condition to kind of create, to control when glowy is going to spawn in. Or, yeah. So I'm going to go ahead, and this time I'm going to say private. And then I'm going to do underscore, or sorry, private bool. And then I'm going to say underscore is there. So, when we start the game or start the scene, like, our prize is not going to be right there because there's a box that's containing it. So this we're going to say, like, okay, in the beginning, this right here, we're going to say, no, our prize is not there. And then when we destroy the box, then we're going to say, hey, now I have my prize. And now it's true. More on that, like, as we're writing the script. So again, in the start or beginning of the game, I'm just going to say underscore is there. I'm going to double click on that. And I'm going to go ahead and hit space, and I'm going to go ahead and say this is false because, our prize is not there yet in the beginning. So over here, like after the squirrely bracket under, update, this one right here, I'm just going to hit enter twice, and I'm going to type in void. I'm going to say on trigger, and then we're going to go ahead and double click on trigger stay. And there we go. Now we're kind of already set up to kind of go forward. So this next part, it's going to get not complicated, but it's a little long. I will first type it out and then explain after. So here what I'm going to do is going to say if 2 open parentheses, and then what I'm going to do, well, I say 2, but like Unity autofills right now and kind of does 4. And if it doesn't do it for you, just kind of like type in these minute brackets in the beginning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in other.tag, hit the equal sign twice, and then I'm going to say, I'm going to do parentheses, not parentheses, quotes, and I'm going to type in the capital P. And then after those quotes and after the parentheses, I'm going to hit space, and I'm going to do a double and symbol, and I'm going to hit space again, and then I'm going to do open parentheses one more time. There we go. It's not auto-filling for me. That's okay. I'm going to do input. I'm going to type in input dot get key down, that's the one I want. And then I'm going to do open parentheses again, and then I'm going to, inside those open parentheses, do key code. And we're going to do, not key code A, actually I want key code Q. And there we go. I'm going to hit enter and then do squirrely brackets. And there we go. So to kind of explain a little bit. So what we're doing in this script is essentially, we're going to create a hitbox, right? So when we're staying inside this hitbox, I'm going to tell Unity like, hey, if I identify myself as the player as P, right, I enter the hitbox and I'm P, and if I also, like I'm inside the hitbox and I'm this, and I hit the key Q, then do something. So what I'm going to do is when that happens, I'm going to type in destroy, and I'm going to destroy the box. So I put open parentheses and then put semicolon. So that's going to destroy the box. But as well as I want to like create something or spawn 2 things into it. So what I'm going to do here as well is I'm going to do another if statement, and then open parentheses, and then this is where this comes back into play. So I'm going to go ahead and say is underscore is there. I'm going to double click on that. If that's equal to false, and then I'm going to hit enter again. squirrely brackets. Then what we're going to do is do instantiate. This is how we're going to go ahead and spawn our stuff. So the first thing I'm going to spawn is Glowy, our prize. So Glowy, I'm going to hit space, not space, comma, and then I'm going to type in spawn, because that's going to be our spawn point. So it's going to be spawn. And I'm going to do dot position, comma, spawn, dot rotation. And there we go. So essentially that's how we're going to spawn the Glowy. And then we're going to just do the same thing, but now I'm going to go ahead and spawn in like a kind of effect. So I'm going to say Glowy, not Glowy, sorry, effect, comma, spawn, dot position, comma, spawn, dot rotation. There you go. And so we're almost done. We need to do one more line, because it's one thing to kind of like, say, oh yeah, when it's false, when we do like all these other stuff right here, do this. But like, we don't want to like create like a million Glowies and like keep on going. So the way we kind of limit that is like after all this, I'm going to just go ahead and say underscore is there is equal to true. And then there we go. Now we're all set. So I'm going to go ahead and just go to file and save. And then I'm going to go ahead and click back into Unity. It's going to take a second for me to be able to set things up. And there we go. So let's keep on going. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and kind of bring myself in as the player. So I'm going to go to standard assets. I'm going to go to characters, first person character, and then on the prefabs. And I'm going to drag this thing that's called the first person controller and drag it into the scene. And so I'm going to make sure in here, using the move tool right here, I'm going to make sure that I'm in like in the proper space, and I'm going to rotate myself. There we go. And then you don't have to rotate yourself like right off the bat. I'm just doing it just cause. So all right. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a hitbox. So again, game object, 3D object, cube, right? And I'm just going to make this cube really, really big. And then a couple of things I want to do over here in the inspector. I'm just going to click off mesh renderer, and as well as I'm going to go ahead under like my box collider, I'm just going to make sure is trigger is turned on. And there we go. Also, I'm going to just go ahead and add component, and I'm going to just type in db for destroy our script. And then there we go. Now it has our script. I'm just going to go ahead and move this to the side right here. And then what I'm going to do as well, I'm going to select here in the hierarchy the directional light, and I'm just going to make things a little darker, kind of, in a way, to kind of just make things a little easier to see. So again, I'm going to go ahead and click this this cube, and actually I'm going to rename this cube to just trigger, just to make it easier on ourselves. You don't have to if you don't want to. And yeah, so here you could see that it's looking for the box, an effect, Glowy, and the spawn point. So in box, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop the box. So it's going to be cube, right? So I'm going to click the trigger, and then I'm going to left click and drag box into the cube into the box, and there we go. So for effects, this is why we downloaded the standard assets before. There we go. I'm going to go click on that. I'm going to go to particle systems. I'm going to go to prefabs, and we're going to do a little flare, because who doesn't love a little flare? So I'm going to click on trigger again, and then I'm going to drag and drop flare into where it says effect. And then Glowy itself, we'll take care of that in a second. Spawn is going to be our spawn point. So I'm going to click on the trigger, yeah. Or actually not the trigger, I'm going to click on the cube. And then I'm going to go ahead and create empty. And so that put it like kind of right where I want it. I'm going to hit center, I guess not. So I'm going to rename this. I'm just going to type it SP for spawn point. And then more or less I'm going to try to align this like kind of empty arrow or point in space to the point where I want it to be. So there we go. I'm going to put it right here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'll put it right here. I'm going to go ahead and, again, click the trigger and then drag and drop SP into transform. And the last thing we need to do is kind of use Glowy. So let's create Glowy. I'm going to go to Game Objects, Sphere, and I'm going to create a sphere. There we go. And this is going to be Glowy. So let's name him Glowy. Glowy, yay, you're here. And then I'm going to go back to my materials, and I'm going to create a material. And then from here, what I'm going to do is just activate emission by just clicking that. Clicking here. And then click under right here where it says HDR, and then I'm just going to go ahead and pick a color. Let's just do like neon blue or something. And I'm going to increase the intensity a little bit, and yeah. I just want to do that one more time. Increase intensity a bit, and then let's kind of do Same thing in blue. There we go. And now I'm going to drag and drop that into here, and then voila, there's glowy. And yeah, that's pretty cool. And so what I'm going to do with glowy is just one last thing, is I'm going to make them into a prefab. So my prefabs, and I'm going to just click on my prefabs, and I'm just going to drag and drop glowy into here. And then there you go, there's glowy. And then I'm going to delete glowy in the hierarchy, and we're almost set. I'm going to click trigger, and then I just need to plug in glowy. Ta-da. Alright, so one last thing. For the controller, FPS controller, I need to tag it. So I think I already done this like before, but I'm going to do it again. Or I'll just show you the steps. So you're going to hit add tag, and you're going to hit the plus sign, and then it's going to ask you, yeah, name it. So I would hit P, right, capital P, and hit save. And then after that's done, you hit the controller again, and then you just tag it P. And there you go. That pretty much sets us up. Let's kind of just check out what we got by hitting the play button. Okay, so here I am in the game. I'm going to move forward with WASD, or the arrow keys. And then what I'm going to do is hit Q, and then there's glowy. And yeah, there's the little spark that we had before. We don't really see it, but hey, we see little sparks coming from glowy and a little smoke. Oh, maybe he farted. But other than that, like, yeah, that's how we destroy a box and spawn something. And yeah, we did it. Woo!